Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to round 4 of the RaceFace.Pro powered by EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship. My name is Stephen Koenig and it's wonderful to be back on the mic, and this time at the beautiful circuit of Red Bull Ring out in Austria. This 4.3 kilometer circuit is challenging because it requires you to focus on those slipstreams. Focus on moving forward and seeing where exactly you're going to be able to run ahead of the pack. It's all about momentum around this 10-corner circuit that opened up in 2011. Well, reopened in 2011. Now, drivers are going to be looking forward to having a ton of fun out on the circuit with everyone trying to figure out what is going to be the best way to keep their championship hopes alive. As we get closer and closer towards the end, the pressure has definitely come down on the drivers to really dial up the wick. And halfway through this season, we're in for an exciting treat nonetheless. Well, that being said, let's take a look at where everyone is and let's go through the championship orders. So, as we take a look to the circuit and get some of the audio from on track, our drivers looking to really show what they can do here tonight and move forward. At the moment, for our pro class, it is Christoph Peterson that's ahead in the championship on 409 points, with Bagel Krobler on 305. Jace Farmer sits in third place, followed by Henry Platts, Alan Patterson, Keegan Bowen, Daniel De Villiers, Jared Bakum. Sorry, that is actually the old one. A little bit on the offside there. That is season 24, not season 25. Apologies for that one. Yeah, the back standings in. But it is Christoph Peterson looking to retain the title, with Bego Krobler in second place, Henry Platt, Sean Herrera, Herman Whitner, Ethan McCuna holds on sixth place, Jared Bakum, Mike LaRue in 8th, Jason Abschmeyer in 9th place, and Jason Farmer sits in 10th in the championship for our pros. Looking at our pro-ams though, we have got Keegan Bowen, Reginald Montalini, Conrad Martin in 3rd, Joe Pretorius, Anton Lomas, Ulrich Diaga, Benjamin Till, Graham Kelly, Michael Berg, Christian Zetzman, rounding out our top 10 in the championship. Well, with that being said, Mike LaRue coming out in full swing at the moment in first place ahead of Bagel Krobler. And a massive, massive welcome to everyone out in the virtual grandstands. We've got Antonio Gamble, the likes of Adam Bowen going and cheering on the Bowen family of Keegan. And then we have also got Tennis Berta coming to say how's it and put a bit of support in for the Pandassi and Friends team. Derek Bakum going and saying a good run for Team Wolf tonight as well. So we've got lots and lots of support creeping in from right around the pits. It's good to see everyone having a bit of fun out there. Jason Abschmeyer up into 3rd. Keegan Bowen into 4th. Benjamin Till 2nd in class, down in 8th, with Conrad Martin in 11th, but 3rd in class as it stands for our Pro-Am division. Drivers trying to get the better run through this course, and it's going to be all about who can run that little bit quicker, who can push themselves just that little bit longer. And at the moment, Mike LaRue, so far quickest out on circuit, in the toe of Bagel Krobler, and hoping to make it work through the double right though. This is where it's all about keeping the momentum, not to sink it too deep and not to move too far wide as he loses the rear and loses that time. Bagel Krobler will put himself up into first place with the likes of Christoph Peterson now into 2nd. Take a look, trying to push his way a little bit closer towards the top. This is where it's heartbreaking, and to the right where the apex fades away from you and tries to figure out how to go that little bit more. Herman Whitner for the team Extreme Sim Racing up into 3rd place. They have been on a social media push of late to get themselves up towards the top. Jason Farmer out in 7th position. The Griffin Sim Racing team bouncing between multiple sims, and the Griffin Sim Racing team hoping to make it work out in their favor. Last night was with LMU. Henry Platt up into 6th place, hoping to carry some momentum he's had over the past weekend with the ERA, and from the previous weeks he's been slowly but surely going and ticking off that list. How to improve this Bentley right the way through. The question is, can he keep that going at the moment as the drivers make their way through? Taking a little bit further back as well, we've got to talk about 11th position. Gerard Pretorius out for the Griffin Sim Racing team, up into the top 3 of the Pro-Ams, and he's hoping to really keep that going all the way to the top. It's going to be an interesting run for our drivers to try and keep ahead of him. Gerard Pretorius has had a monumental run, not last week, but the week before, to see how it goes. Thank you very much, folks. It's good to be back. It's unfortunately away for a family emergency, and sorry to let everyone down on that last one. But we'll keep up with all the action as it stands. Benjamin Till trying to catch up to Ethan Lacuna's time of a 128. At the moment, a 127.485 to beat. That has been set by our race leader, Chris Beggar-Krobler. He's hoping to keep that going now. No, Christoph Peterson, who is also on a brilliant run at the moment to see what he can do. Holds on to 4th place. Remember, he leads the championship ahead of the pack, and now he's got to make it work as a defending champion who's taken the crown back over to Germany last season. He's hoping to conquer this season here at RaceFace.Pro, and in a car that for the year is a completely new running for him. Jason Farmer up into 3rd, 0.2 of a second faster than everyone on circuit at the moment. Personal best coming through, but a 127.6 is for his time to be beaten, and he needs to get right the way down to a 127.4 to stay up for the running order. Christoph Peterson, 127.3, puts in a spectacular time. Farmer comes through the final corner. Is this going to work out for him? But it is going to be a good one. Unfortunately, not enough to take that 1st place spot. Jeffrey LaRue hoping to make it work out for the Griffin Sim Racing team, and will be following in suit right ahead of them. Drivers hoping to keep the run all the way through. At the moment, though, a couple of drivers that haven't got a time on the board. Sean Lorero, Victor D, Reginald Mutaleni, and Christian Zetzman are yet to put a time on the board. Lorero, way down the order, is going to be kicking himself at the moment, wanting to pull his way back up through the field and to catch up to the pros, because he's got the like of Luck further up. Jason Luck a little bit further down. There he is for the Venomworks Racing. Good to see the Venomworks Racing returning to the circuit after a long hiatus for the Venomworks team. And the drivers now coming back in leaps and bounds at the moment. Vessel Woda hoping to keep ahead of Ulrich Diaga at the moment, as they both fight out for 18th and 19th position, and wanting to get that little bit of pace to catch up to Gerard Pretorius. Joe Raccoon up into 8th place, also needing to get a little bit closer to his teammate at the moment, with Keegan Bowen going and splitting him from the pack. Ruben Heineke on a great run, 0.2 up on his time, and now trying to dial it in. He needs to try and move into that top 5 if he wants to be in contention to help out his teammates, and also to be able to move through the order. We saw Ruben Heineke have a shot at a top 3 once before. Can he relive that same magic he's had previously? So through the right hand he goes, down the main straight, and now it's absolutely flat out, 0.2 of a second. This is going to bump him up into 9th place. Jason Abschmeyer on his return back to RaceFace.Pro this season, now trying to go and increase his time. 0.4 up on his personal best, invalidated, and into the wall he goes. Abschmeyer has moments of great and other times is bad luck. Just seems to creep in on him right when he's at it. So he's unfortunately a little bit further than he would like. Mike LaRue as well, a driver that has been up towards the sharp end of the field, now sitting in 10th, 0.2 up on his time. He's the only driver in the top 10 at the moment that is up on their time and trying to make it work out in their favor here for the EG Evolved. Round 4 of the ACC Championship, powered by RaceFace.Pro, and Mike LaRue puts the hammer down. Down the main straight he goes, 0.3. This might be enough to put him into the top 5, and it does put him into 2nd ahead of Jason Farmer a 127.407 over Jason Farmer's 127.410. That was a insanely quick time and so close between one another. Beggar Krobler is also in with the 127.4 as our top second, third, and fourth are running within those times. Jason Jan Verveers now trying to move up as Jason Apsmeyer up into 14th. Vessel Loader up into 13th position. Krayling up on his time. Chris Biermister up on his time. And Hansi Myberg was up on his time. Unfortunately, wasn't able to carry the momentum through. Loureiro, Mutaleni, and the likes of Victor D have not got a time on the board. Christian Zetman hasn't got a time on the board. With 3 minutes left, can the drivers really dial up the wick to make it work out in their favor? Can they get themselves to the top? And it's going to be Jason Luck, who backed off. He was up 0.3 on his time and got off the throttle and lose it out. Just don't quite understand why. Maybe trying to give himself just a little bit more breathing room, but that 0.3 could have helped him out on the run. But then he would have the impact trying to make up the ground on the following lap. Trailing was 0.1 up. Unfortunately, put a wheel off, and that is an invalidated lap for him. So still sitting into that top 20 at the moment. Zetzman up into 33rd, able to get a time on the board. A 129.3 on his part, ahead of Jeremiah Valatham, who's a little bit further down in 34th position. Gavin Scruton also coming back with a vengeance, down in 36th position. Reginald Mutaleni, 1.4 up on his original time, 137.6. He needs to carry the momentum forward here out of the final corner. It's going to be a good time for Reginald Mutaleni as he comes across the line up into 29th position and showing that he's still in there for the fight and still able to make his way through. Jean-Ray Buerta, unfortunately, dropping a wheel out in Team Kerigma Racing, not having the easiest of runs out on circuit. And I've got to take my hat off to the likes of Team Kerigma, especially Jean-Ray Buerta. He's stuck with the Porsche for a number of years to work out in his favor. Christoph Peterson entering turn 1, currently matching his original time, lap to lap. Seeing if it's going to work out in his favor. Jan Strailing up 0.4 on his time. Oh, got it out of shape. Unfortunately, lost the time. He was 0.4 up. And just that tail end started to come underneath him. Ethan Lacuna currently out by 0.2 on his personal time. Trying to dial it back. The Pandassi team working quite hard at the moment to really expand their sim racing lineup. We've been seeing a lot of it from Griffin Sim Racing, from Extreme, we've seen it from Pandacity. We have seen that little by little expansions coming through. I know the Pandassi team trying to mix with different sims, going into the world of iRacing and into ACC. A little bit of dabbling early on. We have seen them in the world of LMU. Sean Loureiro up into 11th position. From no time on the board, he is just shy of that top 10. And will be taking the Nissan GTR all the way to the top. He's right behind Ruan Heineke, his own teammate and long-term rival, Jean-Ray Buerta, takes the fight back towards the Griffin Sim Racing team. And keep an eye on Team Kerigma Racing and Griffin Sim Racing. That old 2023 rivalry is starting to return. There's friendship in the pits, but on track, they're not afraid to go elbow to elbow. 127.1 set by Peterson, leads out the field, 0.2 of a second quicker. In the likes of Mike LaRue, Jason Farmer up into third, Beggar Krobler down into fourth place. Henry Platt trying to make up the time in the big Bentley, out of the top 5. Not going to be too happy on this one. For Fears pulling off, and Biermister pull off as well, as they call it, with 7 seconds to go. Drivers that have not crossed the line now have got to really put the hammer down. Unfortunately, Martin Rotenbach was not able to improve. Jack Dodds trying to improve by 0.1 at the moment. Jonathan Crissett out on circuit, also been improving little by little. The driver has really focused on. Victor D, unfortunately, the only driver thus far that hasn't got a time on the board. and will be starting at the back of the field as we do see Platt pull. Is that Platt? No, that would have been Peterson that's pulled off. There is the likes of Absmeyer, 0.3 of a second up. This is that last gasp to get across the line into the top 10 and to get this McLaren to the top. He's been close here before. It came down to the final corner. Is it going to work out? Through the last corner, over the curbs, the rear starts to rotate a little too much. He's able to get it. Jason Absmeyer, 0.2. Not enough to bounce him into the top 10, but up into 13th position. Michael Berg will be next to come across the line for the Racing Snails and is unable to improve. Jonathan Chrysler, the only car out on circuit at the moment that is up on his time by 0.2 of a second. Absolutely giving it their all to fight their way to the top. Jonathan Chrysler through the final corner, getting onto the power. The rear of that stint looking very, very clean. 0.1 up. Is this going to be enough to bump him up into 33rd? It does move him up into 31st. So as the drivers get ready to rock and roll here at the beautiful circuit of the Red Bull Ring for round 4 of the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship. And this is going to be an interesting one. Halfway through the season, the pressure starts to mount. The drivers have definitely been talking about that and trying to figure out what is going to be the best run through the field. Who is going to be able to stand their way at the top and ensure they're able to get moving all the way through. Let's take a look at the field, though, as they start lining up on the grid. And there is the beautiful shots of the drivers on the grid waiting to go. Our camera crew slowly panning through and getting themselves all sorted out, ready to go. Victor D starting at the back for the Pandassi team, but has been just keeping on circulating. He's one of the few drivers that, even though they're right at the back of the pack, you can count on him to try and get that car across the line. Unfortunately, only had 2 non-starters in the likes of round 2 and round 3, unfortunately, but in round 1 kept circulating. Hunty Marburg, a DNF in round 1 and round 2, but managed to score some points, is slightly ahead of his own teammate. Now, that is in the Pro-Am division. Let's take a look at drivers that have been at the top. Christoph Peterson took a victory in round 1 and came second in round 2. Round 3 landed up in first place. Bego Krobler was able to go second in round 2, second in round 1, first in round 2. Round 3, unfortunately, landed up in 4th, with Henry Platt finishing up in 2nd place in round 3, 7th in round 2, 3rd in round 1. So the drivers have been having a little bit of a mix on their times to really see how it's going to work out. Everyone trying to figure out what is going to be the next game plan to ensure they stay at the front. But the pressure mounts here at Red Bull Ring because this circuit is so difficult to pass, purely on its mostly straights. It's mostly flat out, and the only way you're going to catch someone is out on the brakes, or if you're willing to just take that easy run through the slipstream, try and catch them through the corner, moving them off the apex, putting them in towards the out of bounds. Now, we have seen people scoring drive-through penalties here in the past, but drivers are going to have to consider their options as they start to roll through. A bit of warming up the tires, warming up the brakes, and let's take a look at our grid. So the EG Evolved RaceFace.Pro round 4 of the GT3 Championship. It's Christoph Peterson, our defending champion, in first place, with Henry Platt starting out on the second row. Mike LaRue down in third, with Jason Farmer in the mighty Lexus in fourth. Bego Krobler and Herman Whipner look to fight it out for 5th and 6th. Jean-Ray Buerta and Jeffrey LaRue, the Griffin Sim Racing team, looking to have a bit of fun with Team Corregma yet again. Keegan Bowen, first of our Pro-Ams, has got Jared McComb lining up alongside him. Ruben Heineke has got Johannes Krayling to chase him down. Jason Absmeyer in 13th with Sean Larrera. Conrad Martin, Vessel Loader, Ethan Lacuna, followed by Benjamin Till, Jan Verveers, and Chris Biermester, rounding out your top 20. Gerard Pretorius and Harry Duplessis hold on to 21st and 22nd at the moment, with Graham Kerley and Ulrich de Jager looking to take the fight to the front. Jason Luck a little bit further done, and I've got to wonder if he is related to Kyle Luck that races in LMU. We'll find that one out. Jochen Nadir down in 26th with Anton Lammers. Martin Roterbach in 28th. 29th is Jack Darts, and Danny Steenkamp holds on to 30th. Jonathan Chrysler followed by Reginald Muttalini, Michael Berg, Hansi Myberg, Christian Zetzman, Jeremiah Valathan, along with William Wentworth, Gavin Scruton, and Victor D going and rounding out the pack. So quite a bit to going on here. Drivers looking to really make it work in their favor. Now, we do know the teams have been putting a bit of effort behind the scenes in advertising themselves and their drivers, trying to give that little bit of an esports big-time vibe here in South Africa. And we've got to take our hats off to those drivers, to the teams that have been doing that, working a little bit harder, but also to the drivers moving forward. Henry Platt going to be moving away from the Bentley after the season into a BMW for Moscow Motorsport. So this is his final run before retiring the car for the remainder of 2026. Well, eyes to the front though. Christoph Peterson looking to get an early runaway at the start here. It's 1 hour, 20 minutes worth of racing. It is 2 mandatory pit stops for the drivers to contend with, a difficult pit lane just to get into, and a whole lot of slipstreaming. Who's going to have the advantage as we get ready to go? Turn 1 looking to be an interesting one. Drivers at the ready, and we looking forward to a great run for round 4 of the championship. All eyes to the front, and no pizza on the side. If you know, you know. As drivers ready to go. Lights on, lights on, lights on. Lights off, and away we go racing here at the Red Bull Ring as they spiral in towards turn 1. Everyone finding where they can go. Herman Whitler trying to move forward. Bagel Krobler runs out a bit wide and immediately has Jean-Ray Buerta trying to get right into the mix. Contact into the wall. Jeffrey LaRue, Jared Bakum. It is carnage at the back of the field. Vessel Woda looks like he got caught in that. Jason Abschmeyer got bounced around. Jeremiah Valatham was part of an early contact. And there is Donnie Steenkamp. Chris Biermeister called into the trouble. Hansi Myberg got put into the wall. He's got Jochen Nadir out of him. What on earth happened for the start of the race? We're going to try and find that out and see what exactly went on in this race. So, quick look, and a bit of contact coming in. Chris Biermeister was already sideways, and it was just a spiral of cars into one another, and unfortunately turning into a nightmare affair. I'm going to try and see where exactly that accident started during the course of this race, and let's go back a little bit further. This is the 90 car, Jason Abschmeyer, who was charging into turn 1, going out a bit wide. Where did it all start falling apart behind him? Oh, Jochen Nadir loses out, and the impact against the wall, that spiraled everything into the mix. Unfortunately, quite a few drivers landing up in a bit of pain there, and a few drivers towed back to pits. Christoph Peterson leads out the race with a monumental gap to Henry Platt. Mike LaRue and Jason Farmer giving chase, with the likes of Bagel Krobler doing everything he can. At the moment in the pits is quite a lot of the field. We've got Jean-Ray Buerta into the pits, Gerald Pretorius, Ruan Heineke, Jason Abschmeyer, Anton Lammers, Gavin Scruton, along with Ulrich Diaga, Donnie Steenkamp, Jack Darts, Kerry Duplessis, Jochen Nadir, Hansi Myberg, and Chris Biermeister into the pits. And here is Johannes Kraling in that Mustang, ailing around, trying to get into the pit lane, and will be getting that car fixed. Down towards turn 4, and it is Sean Loureiro trying to go up on the inside of Keegan Bowen. Keegan minding out the room to allow him to go, but now has got Vessel Woda right onto the back of him. Keegan's going to have to really dial up now to get a little bit more of a charge. He's got the pros ahead of him, but now needs to deal with the Pro-Am. Second place on his bumper. Not often we get to see Keegan now under pressure, and Vessel Woda has decided he's not hanging around. He puts it down on the inside, couldn't quite get that pass hooked in, and carries on. We do have a car off, and there's Valentine. Unfortunately, down in 25th, Gerald Pretorius with the drive-through penalty, as we do see more drivers starting to take the impact during the course of this race. A couple of drivers exiting pit lane, and Jason Farmer keeps the pressure onto Mike LaRue, hoping to really move his way forward. The question is, how many of the drivers have got enough in the tank to go that little bit longer, seeing that most of the field has pulled into the pits on their various runs. Graham Kelly, unfortunately, visiting into the dirt with Christian Zetzman, as they do have one of the extreme cars being overtaken by the big Pandassi of Victor D, who has now caught onto the back of Zetzman and the likes of Graham Kelly. They'll try and work with one another to carry the momentum forward. You'll see the drivers still out there, no matter the conditions, no matter the impact, and it does look like we still have our field in the race nonetheless, which is always great to see. Prefer to see cars. If you have seen the green flag, you've got to see the checkered, and drivers going and giving it that extra little bit. Sean Lerrero losing out the run to Keegan Bowen at the moment, as Keegan decided to check out of the fight and now puts a bit of space between himself and Vesselwader. Mike LaRue onto the back of Henry Platt, getting a little bit out of shape, heading into turn 10, and now trying everything he can to keep a very close eye on Jason Farmer. That's got the toe behind him. Mike LaRue with the fastest lap time of the race thus far. That gets beaten up by Jason Farmer, who utilized the toe. Bago Krobler holding on in that 5th place position for the Mustang, and hoping that it can work out in his favor. William Wentworth coming on by as Jonathan Chrysler into the pits, getting himself sorted out. Jason Luck has got Conrad Martin ahead of him. Conrad hoping to keep the momentum forward. Luck got to be utilizing the toe at the moment, not going for an overtake just as yet. And as I say that, heading into turn 4, it's a hard one on the brakes. Tries to get it up on the inside. The question is, has he got the drive to carry the momentum through? It's going to be a run down towards turn 5. Side by side they go. Conrad Martin's got the outside line. Going to try and go for the sweep across the nose here. A little bit later on the brakes. 3rd line. Hit the brakes. Swing the car in. Luck going in very, very deep. Runs out a bit wide and was able to hold the line against Conrad Martin. Martin Rotenbach fighting out with Michael Berg at the moment. Two of them having a good ding-dong battle, with Rotenbach just getting ahead of the Racing Cells, the team HSC. Now up the order with Michael Berg waiting out that time. So drivers seeing how far they can go. Platt getting a little bit of a problem on the exit with one of the Crumdulis racing Ferraris, and now has Mike LaRue, Jason Farmer, and Bago Krobler catching up at a rate of knots and running line astern. None of the drivers breaking out of the toe, not even considering it at this point. Herman Wepner venturing out very, very wide. Yucca Nadir doing exactly the same. Jeffrey LaRue down the order has got Keegan Bowen keeping some pressure on the back of him, and right behind Sean Lerrero as they carry on the bell. So drivers ready, starting to feel those track limits into play. Mike LaRue into 2nd place, and it looked like Henry Platt got a very, very poor drive out of 4. Now having to really contend with Jason Farmer, trying to go around the outside, look for the undercut, no room to get on by, and Bago Krobler waiting in the wings for his opportunity. Yep, Mike LaRue's going to be quite happy on this, but take a look at Farmer. Put his nose in, wasn't able to capitalize this yet. Going to carry the momentum right across the curb. Was a little bit shaky for both. They're able to keep it all together, but Bago Krobler now is right on the back of him. Looks for the inside line. No room by. Gets right into the toe, lifting in 4th gear, not going for the attack and the double right, and is just waiting for the drivers to lose it by themselves. He is just seeing the battle, eyeing out his time, and figuring this is my opportunity to keep it together as we jump on the rear of Henry Platt. Looking at Farmer, hunting him down. Take a look at the Lexus, braking that a little bit later, trail braking, quite interesting. Not stabbing the brakes at the start, just slowing the car down and then trying to bleed off quite quickly. Instead of stabbing it with a hard impact to get closer, he's trying to make sure that the exit of the corner is going to be the best. And unfortunately, that big Bentley is able to hold the line over the Lexus just that little bit more. So great racing nonetheless. Sean Lerrero fighting out with Keegan Bowen. These two brawling it with one another. Vesselwoda is hoping that the likes of Loureiro is going to force Keegan out that little bit wide, allow him to get back into fighting contention. Just behind them is Ethan Lacuna as well, biding his time to join into the mix. Vesselwoda wanting to just close that distance down, as we do see Yakindir lining out of the way, allowing drivers to come through. And we have got another problem for the 26. There's Jeremiah running out wide, trying to make his way through. Jack Dott with a stop-go 30-second penalty for speeding in pit lane. And unfortunately, that is a big impact for Jack Dott, who has now got a monster of an impact to his run. Christoph Peterson with the fastest lap time of the race continues to hold on to the lead ahead of Mike LaRue, Henry Platt, Jason Farmer, Bago Krobler in the top 5, Herman Wepner, Jared Raccoon, Jeffrey LaRue, Sean Loureiro, Keegan Bowen, and holding on to 10th position. Each of the drivers dialing it up that little bit more, seeing where exactly they can get that bit of pace underneath them and where it's all going to work out. I have to go and tip my hat to a driver though. It has been by luck he's kept out of trouble, but has slowly but surely been making his way through and progressing. Victor D at the moment up to 22nd position, and well done to him on that one. And I do want to take my hats off to those that have had a difficult race that are still keeping it going nonetheless. Michael Berg on the back of Conrad Martin, the two of them having a really good run. Racing Snails have taken the fight to Conrad Martin in the past and various different teams, but Conrad continuing to hold the line at the moment and trying everything he can to keep the big Bentley away that plays into the sandpit on the outside. Henry Platt onto the back of Mike LaRue, loses a little bit of time. Bago Krobler into that top 5. Holds on right behind Jason Farmer. The two of them taking the fight to one another, but it doesn't look like so Bago is going on to the attack. So Johan Bago Krobler at the moment is keeping close, bides his time, and then lifts a little bit. He's not wanting to go for a straight out pass, but is rather conserving fuel, running that little bit further back to see how it's all going to work out in his favor, thinking about the long term of the race, not the short term. Jeffrey LaRue keeping the pressure on his teammate though, as that is Jared Raccoon, part of Team Wolf, has got Jeffrey LaRue, the Griffin Sim Racing team, who's got Sean Loureiro right behind him, keeping an eye on the race. Remember, Loureiro and LaRue are running in the same class despite being teammates, and a quick look on the inside from LaRue's side unfortunately cost him the drive, and here comes Loureiro diving around on the inside and looking to sweep across. It is going to be a monster run into turn 5, but the Nissan GTR, mighty on the brakes, is able to hold the inside line, forcing the likes of LaRue out wide, who continue to brawl it out. The Griffin Sim Racing team have gone from working with one another to a little bit of a fight. LaRue deciding he's going to keep right behind and now work with his teammates, see if they can close the 1.3 second gap to Jared Berkum ahead. So slowly but surely, drivers shaking themselves to where they need to be to make it work out in their favor. Jonas Grayling back into pit lane, and looks like it might be a retirement for the driver as well. It might be too much damage. Hopefully they can get that car up and out, back onto the circuit. William Wentworth finding out with Christian Zetzman a little bit further back. Wentworth going and pushing a little bit harder. Fun fact about William Wentworth, there used to be what was the team called? It was with Tebo Maloto and various others that he was racing with at one stage of the game. And William Wentworth now going and having a bit of fun, trying to move forward. And I do believe Wentworth landed up, yes, in Team Try Hard way later in time. Oh, and just talking about it, commentator's curse, I get him into a spin. Sorry, William. I think your brother's going to be quite cross with me for that one, for getting you turned around. But yes, William Wentworth, over the many years of racing, from Monday Night Racing to RaceFace to likes of SRSA, has been having a bit of fun. Was a previous teammate to Tebo Maloto at one stage of the game as well, who's vastly known in the world of South African sim racing, especially in ACC, out in Monday Night Racing. Vesselwoda keeping ahead of Ethan Lacuna at the moment. Ethan, slowly but surely, been developing and honing his skills in the world of ACC. Now trying to find out against Vessel Woda, who's got second for the Pro-Am division at the moment as they hold the line, trying to move forward. Ethan Lacuna also been one of those young drivers that slowly but surely been developing, honing his skills, and been learning from the different drivers. If I remember correctly, Ethan Lacuna came in at the same time as... it was still... who was it? Damn, I'm forgetting names like no tomorrow at the moment. Furnace Kumai. The two of them were very, very close to one another in chatting and how they can work forward, along with Maldre Claessens during that time as well. Jace Farmer, however, taking the fight to Henry Platt, two old rivals that have continued to move on the fight. There you go, Krobler holding on back, and it's good to see that they are continuing their fight. Mike LaRue, a returning driver to the grid after a very, very long hiatus from racing in the world of RaceFace.Pro. Good to have him back here. The question is, can he keep the momentum, hold second place, and also close down the 4.7 second gap that Christoph Peterson has been able to pull away from the field, who now just wants to keep ticking away at the drivers, wanting to move forward, wanting to improve, wanting to see how it goes. Ethan Lacuna, Vessel Woda continue on their fights, and just ahead of Vessel, he's got his own teammate mining out the way, the From Duelist Racing Machine, just not getting too involved into a fight. The last two to carry on. Lacuna is in the Pro Division and fighting out against Vessel, who does not want to lose any time to King of Bowen, who is now 2.4 seconds up the road. Jeffrey LaRue making an attack on Sean Larrera. Looked for T1, backed out of it, second guessed the option. Tried to see if he could get the pass done and doesn't. Oh, big mistake coming in right at the back of the field. And that is Jack Dotts getting it all out of shape. And now rejoining the circuit after coming out of pit lane, but a little bit turned around. Unfortunately, we do have two retirements out of this race. One of them, Johannes Kraling, and we have also got another that has unfortunately out of this race. We started with 39 cars, we're down to 37 after the major impacts early on in the race. Beggar Roblet now onto the attack with Jason Farmer. Looks around the outside, trying to go for the switchback on the inside. Gets a lot of drive with the Mustang. Little bit wobbly on the exit, but now is all over the back of Jason Farmer. Has decided he is sick and tired of hanging around in that fifth place and wants to get ahead of Jason Farmer, carrying a lot of momentum through a little bit of an odd break to just give some room through the double right. Not wanting to get caught out with too much error wash that will cause a bit of understeer. Now, for those that aren't aware what error wash is, especially on a circuit like this, it is heavily predominant. We talk about it as it's the dirty air coming off the car. In other words, you have got that front splitter, big, beautiful front splitter that's able to keep the downforce on the car, and you've also got your rear wing to help keep downforce. The problem is when you're in a slipstream, you've got none of the air going over those components, which means you've got reduced downforce. All sounds great when you're in a straight line. When it comes to a corner, however, the cars are not directly behind one another. They are going and slipping and sliding and moving around, which once again goes and changes where pressure is. If a car moves to the left-hand side, you suddenly get pressure on the front right and not on the left-hand side. That also changes what your suspension does. One side's being compressed, the other side not so much, and that allows for the car to have a little bit of a twist around. You get to see it in very high aero cars, including in GT3s, facing that very same problem, where you get uneven wear, uneven pressure, and game, set, match. Now we're getting a little bit of information in from Johannes Kraling saying parked it after the T1 crash, wrong setup, and unfortunate touch that caused me to spin, and unfortunately landed up with some major impact. Victor D, unfortunately, also getting out of shape, has Hansi Myberg clear on by, and now Hansi getting that little bit of momentum. Victor with a bit of damage to his car. Hopefully we can get, so this is a call out to Old Snake. If you would like to give us a little bit of an idea of what happened at the start of the race. Give us a bit of a breakdown, because we just saw a mass amount of cars. You are welcome to come through to the commentary box, but I am going to toss this one out there to you. Once you've settled down, you calmed down, you got yourself back together, and I think everyone out in the virtual grandstands will completely agree with me, and we'll come back to that now as we see Ethan Lacuna and Vessel Woda having a go at one another. No overtake for Ethan as Vessel is able to get the drive around the outside. But despite everything, you're still in the race. You're able to circulate for points. I know setup, not quite where you want it to be. You're out of position. But I think everyone in the entire virtual grandstands, from Antonio Campbell, Derek McComb, Adam Bowen, and many, many, many more, will say the same thing. We want to see you finish. We want to see you get across the line. Yes, you saw the green and it ended up with a smack, but you still have the option to get back out on the track there, go and dust off those scars and scrapes you've got, and see it through to the end. As a driver in the championship, this is season 25. It only happens once in the world of ACC here at RaceFace.Pro, and quite frankly, you deserve to see it through to the line. And for anyone out there in the virtual grandstands that agrees with me, I want to see that fire, that strong arms, that cheering on for the drivers to climb back in their cars, to see it through to the end. As there's 1 hour to go, there is plenty of time to go and make up a few positions by keeping that consistency. And those that think they can disagree, I'd love to see the reason for you to disagree. Tell us why, because I can tell you one thing. We're South African. We're in the world. We are some of the finest sim racers out in the world on the racing time. We are here sharing the grid with some of the best, and we look forward to seeing every single person cross the line, because they deserve it. We deserve it. The track deserves it. The championship deserves it. And EG Evolve demands to see it happen. As Jeremiah Fellatham off the circuit trying to get himself going, he will go and battle it out. So that is my challenge. So Johannes Kraling, who's currently sitting in pit lane, going and licking the wounds, this Mustang, I want to see you get back out on the track. You can do it. I don't care what it takes. Get that car back out and see it through to the end. At the moment, Sean Larrera, Jared McComb finding their way around the circuit. Jeffrey LaRue keeps the pressure on and continues to battle his way around. Ethan Lacuna once again fighting with Vessel Woda, trying to get that little bit of momentum, trying to see where he can go and who is going to be out. And folks, give him a round of applause, because Johannes Kraling back out on track. That's what we want to see. Go, 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 my friend, go. Ha ha, love it. Oh, that's the way it needs to be done. Jeffrey LaRue, Jerry McComb continuing to fight with one another. Nose to tail, trying to push a little bit more. Sean Larrero going and giving it their absolute all. Right behind them, Keegan Bowen leading out the Pro-Ams. Continues to see the pros ahead, wanting to get past, biting at the heels. Christoph Peterson, Mike LaRue, Henry Platt, Jason Farmer, Bago Krobler, along with Herman Whitner, down into 6th position. Sean Larrera, Jared McComb, and LaRue are rounding out the top 9 that are fighting it out. And folks, I want to see a little bit of support, a little bit of love for the drivers continuing on, like Johannes Kraling, who is now showing that never quit attitude. Show him some love out there, out on the virtual grandstand. The man needs it. The man wants to see it. And you guys, go and bring him back into the race. This is why we race face. This is why we're here. This is what we love to see. Racing and passion till the very end. Jeffrey LaRue looks on the inside. Jerry McComb was not able to get that pass down into T1, and now has got Keegan Bowen right on his tail, keeping the pressure there, wanting to move his way forward. Vessel Woda is fighting it out with Ethan Lacuna just ahead, and he's got his teammate backing him up a little further behind, but is still out on circuit, making his way around. Harry Duplessis has been that consistent little bit of pressure of, listen, I'm here, I'll provide some support where I can. I am a lap down on you, but I will try and see it through to the end. Jeremiah Valathan into pit lane, getting himself sorted. Now we'll be exiting the pits to get back onto circuit. Question comes in. This is a big one to everyone. Hunty Myberg silently has gotten in and out of the pits, has completed all these pit stops with 56 minutes to go. Is a driver to keep a very, very close eye on, as he does set the bar where he will come out, and the drivers will be noting where he is in the field, whether they need to pit or if they need to go that little bit longer. Martin Rotenbach and Jason Luck continuing their fight. Jeffrey LaRue and Jared McComb going and continuing on. So we started with 39 cars. We're back with 38 cars with Johannes Railing back behind the seat and continuing his charge up through the order and continuing their run. Jason Abschmeyer down into 28th position after a bit of repair work done to his car and trying to see where he can claw his way back into time. Sean Larue, Jeffrey Coombe, Jeffrey LaRue continuing their fight with one another. Jeffrey LaRue, who has been a little bit of a joke to move up through the field, continues to bait it out, and there we go. Jeffrey Coombe, he's been joking, waiting for his opportunity. Just put his nose forward, says, I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, I'm there. And like a jester that you wait and you watch one hand, he had the other, ready and waiting to move forward. So, the contact between himself and Jared, and that unfortunately landed up in the weeds. And I do want to take my hats off to this. Not often we get to see it, and I do want to highlight that fact. Let's go to a helicam, and we'll see the exact contact between Jared McComb and Jeffrey LaRue. As Jared did have a lot of pace over the likes of Jeffrey LaRue through the one corner, he made that little bit of contact. But here is what I want to point out. There's the contact. He saved it, straightened the steering out, and waited for LaRue to rejoin before he got going. This is what we call a sim racing gentleman's agreement, and I tip my hat to Jared on that one. How it works is if you haven't got that pass, you cause a little bit of carnage to your competition. There's an unspoken rule in the world of sim racing where you just wait for the competition, allow the competition to go on by, and you get going. You get that little bit of, sorry, that wasn't the way that we wanted to race. That's not how we race. And please retake the position ahead of me. Yes, we lost out a position, but please, let's try this again from scratch. That gentleman's agreement doesn't mean that you earn favor from the stewards, but it definitely earns a favor in the pits where the guys can tip the hat, shake of the hand. Well done, dear sir. Well done. Well, talking about well done, dear sir, Baker Krobler is not saying that to Jason Farmer at the moment, as he's been clawing at him, trying to see how to get on by. Unfortunately, no luck, and now is down 1 second. Jason Luck and Martin Rotenbach keeping it close. Team HSC, a returning team to the circuit. I remember seeing the HSC going back in the early days, around about 2020. The drivers were really having a bit of fun out there. There was quite a few of them. So Martin Rotenbach having a ton of fun out there with Jason Luck ahead of him of the Vettenworks Racing team, who have been keeping a very close eye on the action. Conrad Martin and Michael Berg are the second of our closest fight. The rest of the field going and continuing to move their way in for the race. Trying to see what exactly is going to be the big game plan to move forward. Fastest lap time of the race with a 127.9 is Christoph Peterson, and continues to hold that lead. 5.86 up the road. Henry Platt sitting behind likes of Mike LaRue with no room to go by. Martin Rotenbach trying to close up the distance. You can see how he is fighting behind the Porsche to really make it work. Victor D going and slowing up, allowing the drivers to get past on the straight. And he does create a little bit of a yellow flag for the drivers, who then second guess if there's an incident, see him, and then they're able to clear on by. So a bit of a well done for Victor D, but maybe something as he gets a little bit more experience in the world of sim racing in ACC. It's going to allow for maintaining the pace, rather going wide in the corner, or and braking a little bit or lifting a little bit earlier, allowing the cars to come on by. It's slowing right up to allow cars come through can create some confusion for drivers and also for him as well. It really does throw him through the race. So that's something that I know that the Pandassi team will be relaying the information back to him on a bit of a chat, saying try this as maybe a good idea, not to compromise yourself in the race, but also maintaining that bit of respect as well. Yes, the guys are quick, but you are still in the race. Down to 31st position and moving forward. Kerry Duplessis into the pit lane. This is going to be his final pit stop of the race, hoping to get ahead of Hunty Myburg after the pit stop. So Kerry, who was part of the earlier contacts in the first lap, now continues on his way. At the moment, the 88 was the only driver that Winton landed up with a problem. Gerard Pretorius, talking about problems, Gerard Pretorius turned around trying to get the Mustang up and going, uses the escape road, keeps to the inside line, but what happened to the 72 when he came out of the corner? Let's quickly go and take a look, as this is our helicam with Tim in the heli. Into turn 4 on the brakes, turns the car in. Did it slip out underneath him? Yes, it did. Now, as you're going through the corner, it's a change of camber and elevation, which lightens up the whole steering and lands up causing the car to snap out. Graham Kelly with a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded will be now thinking, okay, what's the game plan for the championship? Yeah, what's the game plan for the race? I need to make it work out in my favor. The last thing I want to do is fall too far down the field, especially after getting caught out with that penalty. Beggar Krobler back into the fight with Jason Farmer at the moment. Both drivers pushing themselves out a little bit more. Henry Platt slowly getting drawn back into the fray of it, and the three now seeing each other in the mirrors, trying to move that a little bit more. For the likes of Beggar Krobler, it's all about maintaining momentum. With 49 minutes to go, there is still a long race ahead. So it's Christoph Peterson, Mike LaRue, and Henry Platt that hold on to the top 3 for the Pro Division. And it's Keegan Bowen, followed by Fesselwoda and Conrad Martin, hold on to the top 3 for the Pro Am Division, trying to see where they move forward. At the moment, Martin Rotenbach and Jason Luck closest fight out on circuit by 0.4 of a second. Everyone else sitting within about half a second to a second of one another, not able to really get that pass done. And this is where the fundamentals of Red Bull Ring come into play. Not many opportunities to really get that pass to work out in your favor, but you now got to see what works out in your braking, and more importantly, especially with 2 mandatory pit stops here in the championship, how do you work it into your strategy? You've seen a lot of drivers going a lot later into the race, double stacking their pit stops, so going into the pits, next lap into the pits again to try and get themselves out and sorted without too much of a problem. But that double stack does not help out in opening up a gap. It actually creates a bit of a concertina effect. We've seen it utilized to great effect, but we've also seen in past how it can take you from sitting in the top 3 through the entirety of the race and landing up miles into the back. So the driver's going to keep that in mind. Martin Rotenbach opting to go to the inside line, as he does see Jason Luck moving over to the race line. Late on the brakes, a little bit squirrely. He's able to get the Ferrari in and cuts across the nose of Jason Luck. Beautiful block pass to get it done and dusted, and is able to move forward. Jan Fierce trying to close up the gap to Vesselwoda. Hasn't really got the straight line against the Mercedes, but was definitely able to make it up in the corner. And this is where we're starting to see the effects of the cars as well come into play. Unfortunately, we do have a retirement out of the race. We're down to 37 cars, but it's not this man. Krayling's still out there, but we have had a retirement out of the race for some reason. Hopefully, the drivers and the teams can get that car back out on circuit, because with 47 minutes to go, the last thing you want to have is a DNF this early on in the race. There's still plenty of time to move forward. There's still plenty of time to keep going. The question is, it's gonna be a proper run. Now, I do want to point out, we talk about drivers owning up to mistakes, and we saw the likes of that with Jared Beckham having that very moment. And Johannes Krailing, I want to tip my hat to this man and give him a little bit of starshine where it's needed. We all saw the accident that landed up with multiple cars getting piled up. We also saw a man that retired the car. He didn't want to go out. He even notified us here. He did not want to go out. He did not want to carry on with the race. That gut just was telling him, hey, listen, you got it wrong there. Beating himself up. But he also went into the Discord and told the drivers, hey guys, I'm sorry, had a snap overs here and landed up causing a problem. We touched, I spun, and unfortunately it landed up with the impact, and that's what happened. So owning up to that mistake and telling the drivers, hey listen, this is it, I had that problem. You know what? It takes a lot for a driver to have that, and I tip my hat to the driver for it. So, Johannes Krailing, well done. Not only that you got back out on track, but owning to the mistake as well is a great thing. Take it on the chin. That's the thing. Main thing, take it on the chin. Jeffrey LaRue and Keegan Bowen are fighting it out. Now, we did see a critical point here. Keegan Bowen starting to flirt with those track limits more and more and more out on the circuit. He's starting to feel it, and there's only 3 warnings you get before you land up with a drive-through penalty, especially on this circuit. So easy to do into the final sectors, and Keegan Bowen, I think, is onto his second, because that is the second time we've seen him going straight outside the lines. It's all 4 wheels, Bell circuit, plus he's keeping that drive, taking him a little bit of time as well. Needing to really focus on what he needs to do here. He doesn't want to throw away first place unnecessarily. Spa-Francorchamps and Jason Palmer, they keeping the toe on one another. Nothing happening too much there. But Reginald Mutaleni now dealing with Jean-Ray Buerta as Graham Kelly into pit lane, getting himself sorted out. Christian Zetzman down into the pits as well, trying to get the car sorted out, and will be heading back onto the circuit. Interesting enough for Graham Kelly. Had to serve drive-through a little bit earlier. Now trying to get that mandatory pit stop cleared, and we'll be focusing to the end. Jean-Ray Buerta putting pressure on Reginald Mutalini. Two friends having a go at one another. Reginald in the Pro-Am class, dealing with Jean-Ray Buerta in the Pro class. Rowan Heineke trying to make up some time. 3.7 seconds back from Jean-Ray Buerta. But the more these two land up arguing, the more it plays into his favor. So you've got to choose whether you're going to keep following the leader, or if you're going to make that pass, you've got to make it happen then, now, and carrying forward. Jeffrey LaRue, Keegan Bowen continue their little brawl with one another, trying to see where exactly it moves on, and not too much happening with 43 minutes to go. A couple of drivers swapping positions here, there, and everywhere, but not many are getting that major move up through the field. Thessalwoda now under pressure from Jan Verveers. Interesting to go and see old Verveers from the Trail Bullets team is moving forward, and the Verveers family definitely backing him up, saying, right, this is what you need to do, this is how we're going to look at the field and where we're going to go here. What is the major plan for the race? Jean-Ray Buerta, who did pit a little bit earlier and currently leads out those that have done their first pit stop, has only stopped in the box for 5.5 seconds, and that is a good point out of just a fuel and go. Rowan Heineke following the same thing, Ulrich de Jager, Benjamin Till, all going and sorting themselves with that exact way. First of the drivers that has done a pit stop with tyres and repair work was Jay Snapsmeyer, down in 23rd position. But it is a bit of a telling sign, as drivers are now considering about that going a little bit further. And I do suspect with 42 minutes to go, a little bit later on, we're going to see drivers going and running a single set of tyres. LaRue getting held up behind these two, Graham Kelly and likes of Donnie Steenkamp, as the Rav AMR fights out against Donnie Steenkamp of the Griffin Sim Racing team. All LaRue going around the outside. That puts pressure on the likes of Donnie to hold the inside line, killing out his drive. LaRue getting a little bit of problems, and that's opened up Steenkamp to go down off the back. And now Graham Kelly going and moving up a position. That little bit of a move going and throwing him out. A big move coming in from the leader of our race. Now Mike LaRue is leading out the race because Christoph Peterson has just left pit lane. And take a look who he's behind. Jean-Ray Buerta in 15th position and Ruan Heineke. Peterson from first pulled into the pits. And that is now a react situation coming in from Mike LaRue, Henry Platt, and Jason Farmer opting not to follow them through the pits, is pulling Bego Grubler along for the ride as well. So they take over the lead of the race. Mike LaRue and Platt going and bailing into the pits after seeing Peterson doing that exact move. Farmer trying to clear on by, he notifies his teammates saying, listen, we're coming through whether you like it or not. Bego Grubler keeping his nose right underneath that rear wing and is ensuring wherever Farmer goes, he is going to follow and keep the pressure on till the end. It's not going to be a back down at the moment. It's going to be a chase. Keegan Bone up into third, first in the Pro-Am class. Is now going to be happy where he is with lots of room to go, and a quick move from Donnie Steenkamp to just move out of the way of a couple of drivers. And I do think that Mustang saw him snap underneath him. LaRue, Platt, Ethan Lacuna, along with Johan Verveers and Jean-Ray Buerta, all visiting pit lane and keeping a very close eye on what exactly is happening in the field here, because strategies have most certainly evolved during the course of this race. Martin Rotenbach got right into the back of Vessel Woda and now going to be fighting out. Remember, these are two different classes here, but Vessel does not care. It is all about track positioning for him, and holding on to 7th is exactly what he's going to do against Luck, who is hunting him down left, right, and center with no room to go. Jason Farmer continues to carry on as Bego Grubler and Keegan Bone pull into the pit lane. Vessel Woda dives to the inside. He's going to be diving into pit lane after seeing what Bowen's just done. A react to what has gone on with Keegan Bone and seeing if he can close up the distance. The question is Conrad Martin going to be the same? He opens up a corner, brings it in nice and tight, but is going to continue driving forward. So Conrad Martin, looking to inherit the lead of this race, is going to keep his foot firmly flat on the gas. Michael Bergen puts Ruan Heineke into the pit lane, and Conrad Martin up into 6th behind Jason Luck, but now ahead of Vessel Woda and Keegan Bowen, who remains still in pit lane. Keegan going for a long pit stop here. This is tires and fuel. Bego Grubler has done tires. He's back out onto circuit and is going to be pushing a little bit more to see how it works out. Keegan is still stuck in pit lane. This was a very, very long stop for him, and unfortunately barreled him down the field and is now only exiting pit lane. He was stopped for 35.1. That was to repair some damage on the car, and is now back out onto the track. He's going to have Jason Abschmeyer coming in for a bit of company right behind him and seeing where he can claw that little bit of distance out. Michael Berg exiting pit lane as well. Vessel Woda will be seeing his way through, and they're keeping a very close eye on Jean-Ray Buerta. Ruan Heineke and Ulrich de Jager into pit lane. There is Farmer and Heineke to the right-hand side. And here's the Team Kerigma Racing now taking the lead of those that have done the pit stop, with Ruan Heineke chasing him down, looking to close up the distance. Buerta up into 19th. Farmer into the pits. Jason Luck, Conrad Martin bailing into pit lane. And that has allowed Jeffrey LaRue, Jared McComb, and Martin Rotenbach to inherit first, second, and third in the race thus far, and looking to push that a little bit longer. Reginald Mutalini slides his way through one, is still keeping his foot firmly on the gas, now leading out the Pro-Am field as Conrad Martin into the pits. Keegan Bowen, who lies in third, has got a long, long climb to be able to rejoin the front of the field, but it's an interesting show of what the current pit stops are looking like, because if we take a look, it is likes of Jeffrey LaRue, Jared McComb, Martin Rotenbach, Reginald Mutalini are yet to do their first pit stops, and down in 5th place, 4 seconds back, Christoph Peterson, who still holds the fastest lap time of the race, and I do want to point out, put a new set of slicks onto his car. He's got a fresh set of tires on that car after his first stop to carry the momentum through. The question is that going to help him out during the course of this race? Where, if we look at Buerta, a little bit further down into 19th position, now into 18th, as he has got the run over Conrad Martin, has got Ruben Heineke on him. He's done his second stop. Ruben Heineke and Buerta both opting to go and put a second set of tires after their second pit stop, not their first. Trying out something new. Jeremy Kuhn, Martin Rosenbach, Jeffrey LaRue pulling into the pits to complete their first stop of the race. Now continues to move forward. Drivers thinking, what can they do to carry the momentum? At the moment, Christoph Peterson is clear of Mike LaRue, Jason Farmer, and Bago Krobler. The question is, how long can he keep that going? Henry Platt, unfortunately, having a very long stop, was now down to 6th position. He did have 0.5 of a second over Bago Krobler. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to maintain that, and it's a little bit lower. Bago Krobler right onto the back of Jason Farmer yet again. This is going to help Platt out as the two get into their brawl yet again. And Mike LaRue, who's just up the road. We saw the Aston Martin with the purple back up the road, going and trying to pull away. And here we go, on board with the likes of Bago Krobler. Johan Bago Krobler looks for the inside line, unable to get the passes yet. Jason Farmer able to maintain the Lexus, now starting to work out in his favor. It's taken a little bit of time for him to develop that car for his driving style, but it's now picked something a little bit more aggressive over the curbs versus the Ferrari he's been running for many seasons. The Different Racing team have been trying their best. Bago Krobler, big fan of the Mustang and the way it feels, showing what he can do. But right behind them, Henry Platt in one of the older of the cars. We've got Nissan GTR. We have got the likes of our big Bentleys, which are the two oldest of the cars. And we've also got the Aston Martin as the third oldest cars in the sim. Sean Lerrero, who is sitting in pit lane. Sorry, that's Donnie Sternkamp with the Mustang in pit lane. We saw the shot there, waiting for his time to go back out onto circuit. Donnie is just biding his time at the moment before released, and will be hoping to get that stop done, get going, and try and make up a few positions. As you see a lane break coming in from the likes of Bago Krobler right onto the back of Farmer. The two of them trying to eye out the situations here, with back markers minding out of the way and minding their P's and Q's right now, and just wanting to stick out of the fight, giving a bit of room to them. Bago Krobler is going to be really hoping that that wasn't the case, and wants to see if he can try and claw his way back into the fight. Let's see where it goes. Christoph Peterson looking to take the lead the race yet again around the outside of Reginald Mutaleni, who isn't going to argue with him. Remember, two different classes here. Reginald leading out the Pro-Am, but still yet to do his first pit stop, is now just going that little bit longer, hoping for a long run to try and see if he can get ahead of Keegan Bowen, who holds second place, in Vesselwoda into third. However, Peterson knows that he needs to keep the pressure on, keep moving forward, because at the moment he's only 5 seconds adrift from Mike LaRue, and right behind them is Jason Farmer, Bago Krobler, and Henry Platt. And the team logistical nightmare driver will be getting that information relayed back to him by Paul Fenter, by Sean Skitter, all telling him, hey listen, keep the drive, keep going, let's focus on what we need to do here and to continue on forward. I know that he's not going to be having a chat to his teammates, the likes of Limburgs, who we've seen previously in the season racing with him. The two of them are brawling out for a separate championship as well, and they haven't been sharing too many secrets, that's to be said. Jason Abschmeyer for Pandacity now into the pits from 13th position. Driver that just hasn't quite had that bang return he wanted this season, but is now trying to continue his way forward, hoping to get back into the top 10 for the Pandacity team. I know he's getting a lot of cheering from the sidelines there. 38 out on circuit, Yakunadir keeping it all together, and just mining out of the way. We do see Victor D coming on by, having his moment out in the sun. Gerard Pretorius, unfortunately, turned around at the top, did clip the wall, and you can see a bit of damage on the nose of that Mustang. He's able to get himself going. That is out of turn 1. McCart snapping around him yet again. Same corner he's been having a little bit of difficulty at time and time again. And now just getting swallowed up through the field as he tries to get himself back up to pace. With 31 minutes to go, it's all or nothing for the drivers, up and down. But Berta still holds on to the first of the drivers that have completed all their pit stop, with Ruin Heineke, Team Krigma Racing and Griffin Sim Racing having a brawl, and the likes of Griffin Sim Racing and Team Wolf that are having a go. And right behind him is Henry Platz, as they all got fouled up behind Abschmeyer, who mines out of the way. And you do see our top 4th, 5th, and 6th place now all over the back of one another. And it does look like Henry Platt trying everything he can to close the distance. So it's going to help out LaRue, but for Abschmeyer, he can start to eye out what exactly is going on here and see if he can utilize the toe to move himself forward. Beggar Krobler, no room to get out by. Once again, trying to see where he can go. Henry Platt left and right, trying to identify where is the options to move forward. Where's the options to continue on the drive? And at the moment, a big look on the inside, contact between Platt and Krobler. Platt slows down. Abschmeyer had to take evasive maneuvers as Bago was able to recover the car after that little bit of a knock with Platt. And a quick sorry coming in, but take a look at the cross arms here as we jump on our helmet cam for Bago Krobler. A very, very good save on his part to try and keep it all together. But the lightest of taps is what got him all out of shape. There's the cross arm, trying to keep it together, slides out, Platt moves out of the way, and here comes Abschmeyer on the left-hand side, who barreled around, seeing the two, having a bit of a tango, and saying, right, I need to have a little bit of room here to carry on. But now he plays the cork in the bottle if he's not able to check out of the fight. Henry Platt did bide his time, allow Bago Krobler to retake that position, and now needs to focus on getting past yet again. At the moment, Abschmeyer with blue flags waving in his face. Now, doesn't have to give position, but he does mine out of the way. And following the rules, you can hold your racing line. You're just not allowed to fight to defend the corner. But drivers utilizing a little bit of knowledge here, going and giving a bit of room, being a courteous of, listen, have the go, and I'm not in your race. However, let's keep the drive going, because the last thing that Abschmeyer wants is to be falling out of favor. Bago with a tank slapper, those tires not back where they need to be, and immediately having Henry Platt having a go at him, a little flash of the lights there saying, listen, let's focus on what we need to do here. Stop pushing so hard. Let's rather pull each other along and try and close the 4-second gap that is now open to Jason Farmer further up the road. Drivers trying to consider what they need to do. Reginald Muttolini getting the cork of the bottle with Hunty Myberg, and now has Mike LaRue coming and fighting for position. Reginald, who is second place on circuit, is on a completely different strategy. He's in a different class. However, this can benefit the likes of Peterson and the likes of Farmer, because Reginald Muttolini is holding his racing line, biding his time, a little bit of a lift to allow Mike LaRue to come swinging on by. Hunty Myberg tucks in behind and waits for his opportunity to move forward, but that has fouled up Mike LaRue just enough. As you can see in shot, we have Jason Farmer called up after getting around both of them, and now looks to try and go after that second place for his class. And Reginald Muttolini holds on to third, is just counting his time. 27 minutes to go, and 2 pit stops still need to be done. The only driver that is still needing to get 2 pit stops done, Hunty Myberg clears out of the way of Jason Farmer. Michael Berg as well, clearing out of the way, and Hunty Myberg going to try and capitalize for going for a pass here. But Michael Berg allows it to happen into turn 1. His focus further down the road to Jason Absmeyer in 23rd. Jean-Ray Buerta keeping Jason Luck for company, and Ruan Heineke on the back of him. Remember, Buerta and Heineke have done their pit stops and are racing to the end. Luck ahead of them still has one more stop to go. And for the likes of Buerta and for Ruan Heineke, they want to try and open up the difference and really see if they can swing on by as they come around, both running to the fringe of the circuit. Jason Luck, however, keeping it firmly all together, does see Victor T mind out of the way, as now an interesting play at hand here. Heineke around the outside. Buerta went defensive for the inside line. He moved out of the way in contact with the two. Buerta turned round. Buerta over the curb, clipped the back of Heineke. Heineke's able to get going, but Buerta now miles down has got Conrad Martin for company, and what was looking to be a great pit stop run for Buerta has turned into a nightmare for the likes of Ruan Heineke. It could have turned ugly, but he was able to keep that car pointing straight and continues on the drive. Conrad Martin holds on to third place at the moment in the Pro-Am division, still needing to do one stop ahead of Ulrich de Jager, and may just lose out that spot. Henry Platt now into pit lane. This is a very, very interesting call on his part, because he's the first of the 15 to do his final stop and will be the marker for the rest of the drivers. Ruan Heineke will now be seeing where the light of Henry Platt is, to see if he can probably get that pass done out on circuit. However, for Platt, this is a gamble move to keep him in contention for the podium. He's going to have to see if it will work out in his favor. As Ethan Lacuna trying to defend around the outside on the racing line, a little bit of slow braking in, is able to keep the momentum up. And Jeffrey LaRue now drag racing on the way through to turn 5. Nose to tail they go. LaRue just a tad back. He's going to try and brake that a little bit later. Instead, opts to pull into the toe. So instead of going for the dive, he waited it out and now has Lacuna yet again getting the run on them. It's been an interesting fight between the two and continuing to carry the momentum through. Henry Platt out into 13th position, has got Vessel Loader for a bit of company behind him. Jason Luck has got Ruan Heineke behind him. So Ruan, unfortunately, unable to capitalize on Henry Platt, who has gone into the pits, as we do see Reginald Montalini finally going and seeing the fuel light coming on that McLaren is into the pits. Jeffrey LaRue gets past on Ethan Lacuna into the double right-hander. Very well done to get it done. But now it's going to be Keegan Bowen looking to do the same move heading into turn 1. Lacuna got the outside line. It's going to be Keegan putting his nose forward for the Ravenous Motorsport, unable to get the pass done. And that is Ethan continuing on the charge, continuing to push that a little bit more and wanting to see if he can hold the line, no matter what the cost is. And Keegan, at the moment, trying to fight with the pro field, looking back through the field and seeing where exactly Vessel, Mutalini, Conrad Martin, and Ulrich de Jager stand at the moment. But he is having an absolute tussle with Ethan, now looking for the inside line into turn 5. Braking late, tried to go for the inside and see if it would work out for him. Unfortunately, on the exit, not able to get the drive on the Aston Martin, and the Porsche waiting again. Drive through for the likes of Buerta, going and exceeding track limits. Buerta getting a drive through. A driver that was at one stage of the game leading out those that have done all the pit stops now suffers a drive through. Graham Kelly and William Wentworth having a brawl with one another. William for Team Try Hard Racing looks in his back with Graham Kelly chasing him down, trying to figure out where to get that pass done and dusted. Henry Platt looks on the inside of Reginald Montalini. The two of them keeping a bit of pressure on one another, with Reginald backing down from Henry Platt, who is now up into 12th position. Ethan Lacuna into the pits. All big mistake from the Aston Martin, and that is the likes of Christian Zetzman landing up into the field, and now he can try and pull himself up, and Ethan Lacuna trying to get himself going, lost it through turn 1. He can see some damage to the front end of that Mercedes as he tries to get the run through the field. Reginald Mutilini into pit lane, has Vesselwoda clear on him, and now it's going to be eyes to Conrad Martin, who will be the next one. Conrad is just giving it everything he's got. Comes slingshot by Reginald Mutilini, trying a bit of a later pit stop, not working out in his favor, but hoping possibly to do a double stop with 21 minutes to go. This is turning into an interesting fight, folks, because we're seeing more and more of the pit stops splaying out amongst drivers. From 1st to 10th is sitting with one more stop to go, and how far are they willing to go into this race? How far are they willing to push that a little bit more? Keegan Bone leading out our pro field. Peterson leading the pro field. Mike LaRue second in pro, along with Jason Farmer. Keegan Bone's got Vesselwoda and Conrad Martin to keep a very close eye on. Ulrich Diaga, who is 4th in the pro-am field, I do want to point this out, is lying in 16th position and gaining some time. For Henry Platt, he's completed all his pit stops. He's lying in 11th position and will be a bit of a marker for the rest of the field where they need to get into the box. Many of the drivers considering the options, considering where can they move forward in this race and how far they're willing to go to stay at the sharp end of the field and continue on the charge here at Red Bull Ring. This is round 4 of the championships, halfway through the EG Evolve ACC Championship, and still drivers considering their options. Just want to point out this championship is still open. If you are wanting to get involved and enter, you can head over to RaceFace.Pro, over to SimGrid, join us on the Discord, and be a part of the show. Unfortunately, Michael Berg going and landing up in the dirt, doing a bit of rally cross in the big Bentley for the Racing Snails, and now rejoining the circuit down in 23rd position, is able to keep it out of the wall. But once again, if you're looking forward to joining us, feel free to be part of the show. Head over to our Discord, head over to SimGrid. And also, if you're looking to get the best deals for sim racing gear and flight gear, head over to EG Evolved. They've got you covered. I won't lie, I'm waiting for the next generation, which they do bring in, as the ES1 haptics has just been released. That's definitely on my Christmas list for this year. Keegan Bone keeping up to Jeffrey LaRue, did land up with one of our McLarens out into the dirt, was able to clear on pass. Now focusing on the charge. Jason Luck losing out to for Fears, and now having one of the extreme cars coming back in for Fears, unfortunately running out wide, and Jason Luck retakes a position ahead of Johan for Fears as they continue their brawl in this race. Both not having an easy time out there, both pushing a little bit harder to see where exactly they will come out. Now, let's talk about who gained the most and who's lost the most in this race, because there's quite an interesting affair going on. Martin Rotenbach at the moment has gained 18 positions over the rest of the field and continues to carry on. Starting in 28, he is up into 10th position. But for drivers that have lost the most, Johannes Krayling, we did see that earlier crash happen. He's down 25 positions from 12, but is still out on circuit. This is a driver that threw in the towel, but thanks to you, the absolute petrol heads on the grandstands that cheered him on and told the guy, get back in that car, you allowing him to see it through to the end. So hats off to you all out there in the virtual grandstand. Hats off to our drivers seeing it through, especially after a bit of a chaotic start to round 4. Martin Rotenbach, Henry Platt finding it out. Rotenbach, who is on a different strategy with his pit stops, continues to hold the pressure on to Henry Platt and trying to figure out where he can get on by. Peterson, who leads out the race with 17 minutes to go, is going to be seriously considering the situation right now, as Platt has completed all his pit stops. So has Ruben Heineke and Ethan Lacuna a little bit further down. Vesselwoda pulling the trigger and pitting early is getting his stop done as an undercut to Conrad Martin and to Keegan Bowen at the moment, who continue their way around and hoping to see if that is going to play into his favor. Now, Vessel, who has been a championship contender in previous seasons, is looking to do it all over again. However, this season he is a little bit down from where he would like to be, unfortunately, Vessel now having to just try and figure out what is the big game plan on him. Because remember, round 1 he missed, round 2 he was unable to get off the start, and round 3 he was able to get 6th position. He's not going to try and pull it back into a top 3 to have a bit of fun out there and try and keep ahead of Keegan Bowen, who has won every single race this season thus far for the Pro-Am division. And when we have spoken to him, his idea is to show the pros that he's able to stick in for the fight, wanting to move up into the Pro division out of Pro-Am. But he has got a lot of fights behind him. Conrad Martin, looking to take his first Pro-Am championship, is currently running 3rd in the championship, but a good, well-placed position scoring here will mean that he has a chance to jump up into 2nd place, and possibly Keegan Bowen is unable to continue the rest of the season, go for his first ever Pro-Am championship in the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione out here at RaceFace.Pro. And what better way to do it than with season 25 of our RaceFace.Pro, and powered by EG Evolved. Yet again, EG coming to be a part of the show. But 25 seasons in, we have had it going race after race after race. 4 seasons a year, 25 thus far. Reginald Mutalini keeping on the back of Fafirs at the moment. 2 of them have crossed swords in Monday Night Racing and various others. Fafirs opens up the corner, allows Reginald to come on by as he's focusing on his own drive right now. And you can also see sporting a bit of damage to the front end of that Ferrari 296. Not wanting to just lose out any run at the moment. He's just going to keep ticking away and moving forward. His concern is going to be right behind him. Jason Amschmeyer out in the McLaren, down in 22nd position. Not quite where he wanted to be at the moment, and still trying to figure out if he can get that little bit of momentum. Martin Rotenbach stretching open the gap a little bit further. Remember, he still needs to do his stop, and no one behind him in his class is yet to do has completed their final, they've all completed their final stop. So his stop now is going to throw him further back to the field at the moment, 14 seconds ahead of Ruben Heineke, and trying to stretch that gap a little bit more during the course of this race as he gets right into the back of Henry Platt, who is keeping a very close eye. Every time that Ferrari gets close into the mirrors, there's always that concern of, is he braking enough that we're not going to meet each other halfway? Jason Farmer closed up the gap to Mike LaRue, 1.8 seconds, but managed to shake Begor Krobler, who is now 3.5 seconds back. Begor Krobler going and biting his lip at the moment after a little bit of contact between himself and Platt. Costs a little bit of time and is not able to pull back the fight as much as he would like. Absmeyer getting pass on for Fierce, who went out wide through the final corner to allow that pass to happen. So he's definitely nursing a bit of damage to the car and is just trying to see it through to the end. With 13 minutes to go, it's going to be the longest 13 minutes it seems for him. He's not able to go and beat out that understeer. Slowly but surely creeping in, taking a bit of time out from it, and has to really focus on the run. Martin Rotenbach and Henry Platt continue their brawl with one another, trying to see where exactly they can get the drive. Where exactly can they get that little bit of momentum as Platt runs right to the fringes of the curb, flirting with those track limits, flirting with the sausage curb, and you can see just trying to dial it up a little bit more. Last lap time is a good point to that. Did a 128.5. His best lap time is a 128.2. He's slowly but surely trying to see if he can close that distance to the top three that have so far been running in the low 128s. But remember, they still got one more stop to play with here that they need to consider. The likes of Christoph Peterson, the likes of Mike LaRue, and the likes of Jason Farmer, who hold on to the top three. Begor Krobler, who holds on to fourth place with Herman Whipner. We haven't spoken too much about Herman. Slowly but surely been sitting in the wings, biding his time for the opportunity to come. The Extreme Sim Racing team continuing to move forward, continuing to think of what idea is going to be great for them to really step up. Herman Whipner, a driver that came in originally under the banner of Pandacity, later then got into Extreme Sim Racing team, and now continuing on the drive. Whipner was originally a mid-pack driver, now slowly developed to be a top 5 contender. Sean Herrera out there for the Griffin Sim Racing team, been with the team for a very, very long time. First time out in a Nissan GTR in a very, very, very long time, and I'm talking about years since we've seen him jump into something like that, trying out something new. As for Fears and Reginald Mutalini looking to battle it out, two of them having a bit of fun. We do, however, get notice of a bit of contact between Jason Absmeyer and Mutalini. So let's quickly take a look at what happened here. Absmeyer, who lies right behind Reginald Mutalini as they make their way towards turn 5. Absmeyer looks to the inside line, a big look and a bit of a wild send from back, but he's able to slow the car down. Ooh, contact after Mutalini runs over the curb and gets that car lightened up into the door. That's going to hurt his tyres, but also for Absmeyer, who braked after looking for the dive, realized he's not close enough for it, backed off, and unfortunately still had Reginald Mutalini going and biting into the door of his car and rearranging that mirror. Keegan Bowen into the pits. Now will be a good tell for the Pro-Am field. What is going to be the plan here? Jared Bacum now moves up into 8th place. Henry Platt will see this and will be thankful he doesn't need to fight with Keegan at this point. Martin Rotenbach will be seeing it as well. But the one man that's going to be worried about it is Conrad Martin, who's on the opposite end of the circuit and still needs to do one more stop. Ulrich de Jager, who holds on to 3rd place at the moment from the Griffin Sim Racing side, he is now trying to figure out what his options are. He's on the other side of the circuit. He's not going to get Keegan, but is the likes of Conrad going to react to the situation? When 10 minutes to go, Conrad is still continuing to drive out and still continuing to go that little bit more forward. I do want to also point out Conrad Martin. For some people that actually don't know about the young man, Conrad Martin is an avid cyclist, and I'm not 100% sure if he's actually done a triathlon or thought about it, but as a cyclist, for road going, he's been really on top form, beating out his own personal best and constantly having a bit of fun out there. So hats off to our drivers that are in different sides of hobbies. We do want to point out to them, and Conrad Martin, who lies in 3rd place at the moment, is going to be quite happy on his run through the championship. I say 3rd in the championship at the moment. He scored a podium in round 3, which is the first podium of the season, and now looking to put himself back onto the podium. However, he's got Ulrich de Jager to contend with, who has done his pit stop. So is Benjamin Till. Haven't spoken too much about Benjamin Till throughout this race, but he has been keeping the momentum going. Benjamin Till, slowly but surely, making his way through. Some say Benjamin's actually got an alias that's rather interesting. It's called Dr. Bean. Now, something we have seen across in sim racing is a Dr. Bean Till, but well, that's just an alias that he races under to hide the Michael Schumacher talents he's got. Christoph Peterson, however, all the way down to Jared Bacum, still needing to do their final pit stop. Martin Rotenbach, who is in 9th position, needs to do his stop along with Conrad Martin. From there, every single one of the drivers in the field have completed their stops for the race and looking to see it through to the end. Chris Biermeister, now exiting pit lane, continues on the drive. We'll be trying to figure out what is his game plan for the rest of this race as he has to catch up to Hansi Myburg. Kerry Duplessis now onto the back of Graham Kelly, looks for the inside line, and Duplessis having to really break that a little bit harder mid-corner. Got a little bit unsettled on the curb, but Graham Kelly keeps that momentum through, not worrying about the pressure right now. Remember, Duplessis is in a different class, but he doesn't want to be losing time. This is where you start to think about the championship of what your game plan is. Are you going to fight for overall position? Are you going to fight for class position? Are you going to live to die another day? Or are you going to fight for the hill? This is the many ideas, concerns, pressures that come in to the drivers, especially so late into the championship, and such a prestigious championship of EG Evolved ACC GT3 of season 25. Round 4 of it, Christoph Peterson, Mike LaRue, and Jason Farmer continue on their drive, and still not going into pit lane. First of these drivers of our top 7 that pull into the pits will create a domino effect coming into play here, and a chain reaction of who is right behind the next person. For Jared Bakum, he's a little bit on the other side. He's trying to catch up to Jeffrey LaRue, 5.5 seconds up the road. But when you start to think of Peterson, Farmer, Mike LaRue, Bago Krobler, they are running very, very close to one another. Peterson 7 seconds away, but LaRue has got Farmer, Bago right behind him that are going to close that distance and become a very viable threat. And an early pit stop has really played into the favor of Jason Farmer to move him back into the top 3. However, just doesn't have that pace right now to really make that impact against Mike LaRue. Has been opening up distance. He has got team creamer Jean-Ray Boerter, who is a blue flag car ahead of him, and that separates Mike LaRue and himself. 2.9 seconds of air between them, and I know there's going to be communication amongst the Griffin Sim Racing team just trying to identify where Christoph Peterson is. Ulrich de Jager, another driver at the moment that's going to be really thinking about it, sees Conrad Martin into the pits, which means he takes over second in the Pro-Am Championship, Pro-Am race now for round 4, and now needs to see it till the end. My heavens. Come on, Stephen. There's words. Use them. Benjamin Till, 5.3 seconds behind, trying to close up the distance and see if he can go for a second place. At the moment, maintaining third, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on this Mercedes right here. As we did see Graham Kelly pulling into the pits, yet another drive-through coming in for the driver. Not exactly what he wanted to have. 2 drive-throughs in this race. Been in the pits 4 times. And that is a nightmare race for Kelly, who was on a proper run. Sean Lerero pulls into the box. This is where we start talking about that chain reaction. Is it going to happen? Jared Bakum saying he's not worried about it. He's going to go that little bit more. Martin Rotenbach is going to continue on the drive as well, getting ahead of Sean Lerero. Henry Platt now up into 7th position. Remember, he has completed all his pit stops. Our top 6 are yet to do their final pits, with Christoph Peterson, LaRue, Farmer, Krobler, all trying to move their way forward. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that Henry Platt might be getting a bit of information from friend and fellow former teammate that used to race with him, Herman Percival, who was racing last night in LMU, to get a bit of an idea of what's happening out there. Mike LaRue into pit lane, and that has allowed Bago Krobler to choose to go into pit lane. And an interesting run here because Farmer stays out. Farmer's going to go that little bit longer, and he needs to really put in the pace. He needs to clear the likes of LaRue and Krobler. Remember, a pit stop, a drive through the pit stop is 28.5 seconds. And he's going to be doing a short stop. So you're looking at about 5.5 seconds stopped in the box. LaRue into the box, Jared Bakum into the box. And Henry Platt now exits the final corner to start ticking his way through. Unfortunately, not going to be close enough as LaRue getting a big mistake coming out of pit lane. Loses a little bit of drive. That would have ended in a horrible affair. But he was able to just save the car coming out of the pits. My heavens, let's actually go on board for that one, because let's take a look what happened. He is waiting. Bay goes into the pits, dropped down, puts the hammer down, sees that he can clear on by, off pit limiter, floors it to the top, cold tires, a little too fast, and that was a snap oversteer of note to try and get himself out ahead of the pack after a pit stop. Man, oh man, what a run for LaRue. That could have ended in a nightmare affair. Peterson into the pits, Farmer into the pits, and they are right on the back of one another. Peterson and Farmer pulled into the pits. Mike LaRue, who's now not too far away, is closing up the gap. Bago Krobler, 6 seconds off the back of him, has got Henry Platt to deal with as the two have finally meet each other, with Hansi Myberg splitting him in the middle and looking to see where he can go. And Henry Platt going to be gambling to try and clear past Myberg as quick as he can. Tries to go in through the right hand, and Myberg opens up the run. Peterson out of pit lane comes ahead of the pack. LaRue up into second with Jason Farmer just leaving pit lane. Right behind him, Bago Krobler is on the charge. He sees Johannes Grayling fighting out with Conrad Martin. That's not for position, but for Bago. It is 4 seconds adrift of Farmer, who holds on to third. LaRue into second. Platt into fifth. Krobler in fourth. Continues on the charge. Whipner into sixth, with Loureiro and Heineke fighting out for 7th and 8th, as there is a little bit of a mix-up here. Krayling mines out of the way. That's Bottle Bago, and allowed Platt to get right into the mix and really keep the pressure moving forward. With a minute to go, it is back markers that can really sway the entire tide of the battle here, with Platt and Krobler fighting it out. Ethan Lacuna fighting against Keegan Bowen. Yes, 2 separate classes, but take a look at these two throwing hammer and tongs at one another. Keegan runs out wide. Ethan doesn't get the drive. He's unfortunately having to slip back into the toe as they push on. Jack Darts getting ahead of Jermaine Fellatham at the moment as they continue on their drive through the race. And there is the notice. Christoph Peterson is on the final lap. Ethan Lacuna loses it, unfortunately, into the wall. Can he get this car turned round? Can he get himself going? It's now just about damage limitation. Martin Rotenbach, Ulrich Diaga come on by. It's Austin Powers' moment to try and get that car sorted out. And Jean-Ray Buerta clears on. Lacuna, unfortunately, turned round right at the last. Now trying to do damage limitation as he's down into 16th position after keeping pressure on Keegan Bowen while holding 12th place. But Peterson gonna be happy on his run, has kept it all together. Harry Duplessis and William Wentworth. I don't want to take it away from the guys at the back because they're finding out Duplessis is going after Wentworth. 0.4 of a second between the two of them. They're fighting out for 25th and 26th. But man, oh man, they're still fighting it out. They're still giving it everything they got. Donny Sternkamp a little bit slower, waiting for the leader to come on by just a little bit. And I think starting to suffer with a fuel issue. Reginald Mutalini just ahead of Christoph Peterson, who is rounding the final set of corners and taking round 4. Victory goes to Christoph Peterson in the Mercedes. The German is smiling all the way with that victory. Reginald Mutalini managed to keep ahead, just have one more lap. Mike LaRue will take second place with Jason Farmer up into third. The gamble works. Bago Krobler across the line in fourth with Henry Platt. Herman Whipner will take home sixth place along with Sean Loureiro, Ruan Heineke, and Jeffrey LaRue into ninth place. Jared Coombe will round out our top 10. The Griffin Sim Racing team are going to be happy on having quite a few cars in there, but a man that's going to be quite happy on his performance, Keegan Bowen, will be taking the victory in the Pro-Am field and is going to be smiling all the way through. Adam Bowen's going to be happy with this one, and it is the Ravenous Motorsport Pro-Am Aston Martin across the line for first place. Martin Rotenbach comes through as Jeremiah visits the dirt on the way through. Ulrich Diaga for Griffin Sim Racing team is able to get himself up into 12th position and on the podium. Benjamin Till, the Doctor, is now up into 13th position, third in class. What a run and what a chase. Sean Ray Buerta, Ethan Lacuna, Jason Absmeyer, along with Jason Luck, Reginald Mutalini, Johan Verveers, Conrad Martin, Anton Lovers, Michael Berg, William Wentworth, Kerry Duplessis, Victor D, Graham Kelly, Jochen Nadir, Gerald Pretorius, Jack Dodds, Jeremiah Vellatham, Christian Zesman, Donny Sternkamp, Hunty Myberg, Chris Meister, and Johannes Grayling rounds out the pack. As we can hear in the background, celebrations, celebrations, celebrations coming in from the drivers after a monstrous, monstrous run here at Red Bull Ring. And once you climb onto the bull, you best believe you're gonna get the horns, and our drivers definitely got that. 39 started, 37 finished. Jan Scaling tails in at the back end of it, but a driver that gave up got back in thanks to you, the virtual grandstands, was able to see it through to the end. A great racing effect, and Keegan Bowen keeping up that winning ways yet again, taking a victory under his belt. The streak yet to be broken in the Pro-Am affair. The likes of Christoph Peterson, Mike LaRue, and Jason Farmer round out our top 3 for the Pro division. They fought it out all the way through. Ulrich Diaga and Benjamin Till holding for 2nd and 3rd in the Pro-Am are going to be rather happy on their race as well. We're going to catch up with the drivers, especially after a phenomenal race. And shout out to all the drivers and teams, and shout out once again to our sponsor, the likes of EG Evolved. Now, that being said, we do have the drivers in here, and we're going to bring in 3rd place driver, and he's running under his name, but not his alias. And we're going to bring in our Pro-Am 3rd place, Benjamin Till, to come and have a chat to us. Benjamin Till, welcome to the commentary box. And wow, oh wow, how's it feel to be standing on the podium?
Oh, it's good. It was a good race. It was, yeah, your tires just left. Every time you put new ones on, they just left. But it was good. It was a tough race.
Well, if we look at your season, round 1 you got 3rd, round 2 into 12th, round 3 into 7th, returning back onto the field, and not too far up the road was Ulrich Diaga. Take us through that race, because it just seemed like it was quite a up and down race for you.
Yeah, I've got to go and have a chat with Ulrich again. I've got to figure out his pit strategy, because he's way quicker than me in the pits. But yeah, I would catch up to him, then I'd make a mistake, and I'd catch up to him, make a mistake. So it was a good race, just clean. It was a little bit of RG in the first lap, but nothing major. It was good.
Now, I've got to ask, were you chatting to your twin brother that races under Dr. Bean Till, constant communication in the pits of where you are on circuit?
I was he was here next to me telling me what was happening.
Okay, all right. Now, as long as we're getting the understanding here, because I know it's a very close working relationship between the two of you. But Benjamin, how are you feeling halfway through the championship done, looking at round 5? What's your game plan?
Just one race at a time. Qualify well so that you up in the top half of the field, and try to stay on track. That's all. One race at a time.
One race at a time. Absolutely wonderful. Benjamin, before I let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to on the virtual grandstand, to the grid, to the drivers, to our sponsor EG Evolved, anyone out there, the floor is yours.
Thanks to all the sponsors and to RaceFace for making this happen for us. The drivers, good driving tonight. The blue flags were great drivers. They moved over. It was, yeah, well done drivers. Thanks for the race.
Absolutely well done. Benjamin Till taking 3rd place in the Pro-Am field, and what a run from his part. Absolutely great stuff to have a chat to him, and I know Dr. Bean Till will be giving a bit of an idea of what to be done. As you heard, very close working relationship between the two of them. But with that being said, let's bring in our 1st place of the Pro-Am, and keeping the streak alive, Keegan Bowen, welcome to the commentary box. And man, oh man, the streak lives on for the Pro-Am. But it got a bit hairy out there. How are you feeling after the race?
I'm good. I'm hot. My brakes literally stopped working with about 6 or 7 minutes left in the race. My rear brakes went red. They died completely. So yeah, it was all front tire braking, and yeah, it was not a very exciting time.
Now, take us through that race, because once again you were mixing wheels with the pro field, but that landed up with you starting to get swallowed back a little bit as well.
Yeah, with the 3 cars fighting in front of me, it created a bit of a jam. But there was a big accident on turn 1 and a lot of blue flags running around on the track, a lot of back markers. So I was worried if I went into the pits early to try and get ahead of these guys, that I would get stuck behind either a damaged back marker or a slower driver. And then I'd be competing for position anyway, which would slow me down. So I figured I'd rather stick with the fast guys. And if they got to slow me down a second a lap or half a second or whatever the case may be, then I got to stick it out for the first 10 minutes.
Now, I've got to ask, setup coming into play here when you talk about the back brakes, giving up the ghost in the last couple of minutes. What was running through your mind when all of a sudden you've lost those rear brakes? The pedals starting to become very spongy underneath you.
Yeah, well, my teammate Graham Kelly, his trail braking isn't quite up to par yet, but he's getting there slowly but surely. And because he doesn't trail brake as much and he just slams the brakes, his brakes died first. So he let me know he had about 12 or 15 minutes left of the race. And he said that his brakes had completely failed. So just be careful. And I looked down and I saw my brakes were just sitting on constant yellow and orange. So I was like, okay, I got to pull the brake bias a little bit more forward. But it meant that I couldn't get around those corners as easily. So I ran a bit wide here and there. But yeah, I managed to kind of stay ahead as much as I could. Felt bad for Lacuna, who was dicing with me, and he, with my brake failure, I took a bit of a weird line and kind of made him twitchy, and he flew into a wall. So apologies about that.
Well, it was still a good race nonetheless. Before I let you go to cool down and get the car back onto the trailers and start trying to figure out what exactly went on with you and your teammates, Carl, anything you want to say to anyone out in the virtual grandstands, our amazing people that were cheering you on, and also the fans out there cheering you on? We had the likes of Adam Bone busy shouting out from the grandstands, going and cheering you till the very end, but also to our sponsor EG Evolve, to all the drivers and teams that you've been battling out on circuit. The floor is yours after your victory here at round 4, the EG Evolve ACC GT3 Championship.
Well, I want to say thank you to my dad, definitely a #1 fan, supporting me throughout all my races. Gets very upset when there's no live viewing. So but he's glad that he can watch me today and he can be a part of it. And yeah, I appreciate all the fans, everybody giving support to all the teams and everything out in the field. It really does make a big difference. At least we're not driving just for ourselves; we're driving for you guys too. So I really appreciate all the support, and thanks to other teams for really giving it their all. Driving really well tonight. Obviously, a few little spats here and there. And yeah, to our sponsors, we appreciate everything you guys do. Still cannot wait for the new rig to arrive so I can put that together and give it a test drive. So hoping that comes within the next week or so.
Absolutely wonderful, and we're looking forward to seeing those pictures out on our Discord and social media. Keegan winning a rig from Simulator Cave from last season. Keegan, well done on the victory, and the streak still lives on. The question is, the competition starting to gain ground. Keegan Bone taking the victory. Now, we did have the likes of Jason Farmer. Unfortunately, he just left before we could pull him in, so we're going to bring in second place of the pros, and that is Mike LaRue. Mike, welcome to the commentary box, and the Venomworks Racing finally coming back to the world of RaceFace.Pro and finally getting back towards the sharp end of the field. How are you feeling after scoring second there?
Exhausted. Yeah, no, it was good. Peterson's just very quick. But yeah, no, overall was a lacquer race. Good fight with the guys behind, but yeah, it was good.
Now, take us through that race, because it looked like a gamble on whether you are going to be moving up through the order, late choices in pit stops. You had Bago that seemed to be copying your moves. I mean, it was just a back and forth battle and react to whatever goes on around you. Take us through the race.
Yeah, so my first pit stop was planned when it was supposed to be, like around halfway, change tires. What I normally would do is the lap after I would do my second stop, but I saw everybody else stayed out. So I was like, okay, wait, let me try this as well. And about 5 minutes before then, I was like, oh, well, it's now or never. And I just ducked in and I saw Baker did the same. But yeah, it was good. Strategy-wise, was good. Made a few mistakes here and there, but those are all self-inflicted. But yeah, I was lucky.
And early on, we saw you in a monstrous fight, trying to keep ahead of Jason Farmer, Bago, and so many more coming at you, mixing wheels with back markers. Henry Platt getting into play. How was it being in those major dices yet again with competitors that you know from past?
Yeah, no, it was good. I'm actually quite stoked to be able to race against Bago at the moment, because normally it used to be like when the last time I was at RaceFace, it used to be I would see Bago only when he used to lap me. So it's lucky to now actually be able to race him. But yeah, like with Platt and Farmer as well, good racing there. Lex is crazy quick on the straights. Bentley, again, also very solid car. And Platt gets the time out of that car. Lucky to get by him when I did. But yeah, no, it was good.
And with that being said, game plan for the rest of the season. You're a little bit down in the championship, sitting in 8th position after a 2nd place here. That's going to pick you up. What's your game plan to try and charge after that top 3 and to be on the podium spots for season 25 here at RaceFace.Pro?
Well, just basically practice and try my best. I only joined on the 2nd race, so from round 2, so I did lose a few points early on. But yeah, stoked to be in the top 10 already. Got to try, just practice, put in the laps, put in the time, see if I can stay on the podium or close to the podium in the coming rounds. So a few good tracks coming up. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely wonderful to hear. Well, before I let you go, Mike, off to take a 2nd place in the Pro Division, anything you want to say to our legendary fans out there? I'm sure you saw them cheering on from the sidelines, going and wrapping themselves around the circuit, cheering everyone on, but also to our sponsor, EG Evolved, and everyone at home going and keeping an eye on the racing, also to the drivers and teams out on track.
Yeah, just thank you to the sponsors for making this possible. Thanks for the people watching. It's always good to have the people there supporting the races. And yeah, then just also thanks to my team and the sponsors for the team. Do appreciate them. They help a lot. But yeah, that's all from me.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Mike LaRue from the likes of Venomworks Racing getting 2nd place here tonight. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we've got Jason Farmer. He was getting himself ready to come in and have a chat to us, but unfortunately needed to go. And we haven't got Christoph Peterson to give us a few words after his race. A little bit of a lonely one at the front, but was still able to take away the fastest lap time of the race and to also take over the win to try and continue his streak and defending the championship. Bago Robler, Henry Platt, after a wonderful battle between the two of them, are going to be scratching their heads on what they need to do for the points here at RaceFace.Pro, especially for the championship. But folks, it's been an incredible race here at Red Bull Ring. We say goodbye to Austria and thank you very much for all the fun we've had. And I tip my hat to the drivers that finished here tonight despite all the efforts. But we will be moving across the way and heading over to Messino to go and battle it out for round 5 next week, March 5th. Not to be missed, as we're now on to the final stretch for the championship here at the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship Season 25, powered by RaceFace.Pro. and it is getting wild all the way through. If you want to keep up to date with all the action, make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification icon. We love to also read your comments after and see what your thoughts are on the race. But coming up next week as well, on the 3rd of March, it will be next week, Tuesday. We kick off with round 1 of the iRacing GT3 Championship here at RaceFace.Pro, returning finally to the world of iRacing for drivers to battle it out in a multitude of different mix of circuits and drivers trying out different cars. BOP suddenly all getting thrown into a bit of a strange now, because after next week, we're going to be going through a new BOP change in iRacing and physics changes as well, which means the GT3s are going to react a little bit differently, which also changes what the ideas for each of the cars, especially after grading. We're going to see the drivers battling it out. And the first race is going to be the Autodrome Internationale Enzo Edino Ferrari, also known as Imola, on the 3rd of March. Then we will be back with LMU on the Wednesday to battle out for round 5. And then next week, Thursday, we are back for some ACC racing. It's going to be a great one, folks. It's going to be exciting. Massive, massive shout out to everyone. Massive thank you to our sponsor, EG Evolved, who has got some of the best deals for you. Get in touch with EG Evolved for any of your flight, racing, and enjoyment gear. They've got you covered and will keep you going. From myself, Stephen Koenig, from Tim the cameraman, Jim, who is out going and being our marshal, and a shout out to the likes of some great racing in the program. Cameron de Bastos being a part of it and being a great run. I do want to also point out, Jason Bob says, got to get some air after the race. Had an absolute blast. Great pressure for the top 5. Was feeling really good. And it's good to finally be back in the fight for the podium spots yet again. Poor man has had the worst luck ever in quite a few racings. Good to see the Griffin Sim Racing team now going to be celebrating as most of their drivers landed up on the podium there. But folks, it's been a great one. Thank you so much for joining us, you absolute legends in the grandstand. Thank you to all our drivers. Thank you to all the teams. And look forward to seeing all the stories out on the social media side. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week right here at RaceFace.Pro. And like always, folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.